Welcome to the Moonlit Cabin. I'm Vale, and I'll be your storyteller tonight. If you're feeling a little tired, or just need a gentle voice to keep you company, you're in the right place. Find somewhere cozy. Take a slow, deep breath. Let your thoughts drift like clouds in the evening sky. Tonight, I'm going to share a familiar fairy tale, one you may have heard before, but this time told softly, with a British voice. This is the story of Snow White. Once upon a time in a distant kingdom, there lived a king and a queen. The king was kind, handsome, and beloved by all. But the true ruler of the kingdom was his wife, the queen. Before she wore the crown, she had worked in the castle kitchen. She was very poor, but she was also very beautiful, funny, and brilliant at Scrabble. The king fell in love with her and married her. The queen loved the king dearly, but deep down she feared he might one day meet someone more beautiful. Fortunately, the queen owned a magic mirror. It saw everything and knew everything. Every morning, the queen stood before the mirror and asked, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the most beautiful of all?" And the mirror always replied, "You are, my queen. You are the most beautiful woman in the world." But one morning, everything changed. Same question. But this time, the mirror said, "You are very beautiful, my queen. But the most beautiful woman in the world is Snow White." "Snow White, who is she?" the queen demanded. "She works in the castle kitchen," said the mirror. "Her hair is as black as night, her lips as red as roses, her skin as white as snow. And as of 8 o'clock this morning, she is just a tiny bit more beautiful than you." The queen was furious. She stomped her feet, tore at her hair, and burst into tears. "I'll lose everything." She summoned her trusted hunter. "Find the girl, Snow White," she ordered. "Take her deep into the woods, and make sure she never returns." The hunter did as told. When they reached the deepest, darkest part of the forest, he leaned in close and whispered, "Go. Run far and fast. Never come back." Snow White watched him disappear into the trees. "I can't go home." "But I can't stay here either," she whispered. She looked around at the shadows. Rain began to fall. "All right, feet, let's go." She ran and ran, across streams, over hills, and into dark valleys. By noon, her pale skin and rosy cheeks were scratched and muddy. By evening, her long black hair was tangled with twigs and leaves. She wasn't beautiful anymore, just tired, hungry, and cold. Then she smelled wood smoke. A warm, golden light flickered through the trees. She followed it and found a tiny cottage. She knocked softly. "Hello, is anyone home?" No answer. She gently pushed open the door. Inside were seven tiny beds, 7 tiny chairs, and a table covered with dirty dishes. She found a loaf of bread and ate every last crumb. She drank a whole bottle of milk. Then she curled up by the fire and fell fast asleep. When she woke, 7 little faces were staring at her. "Who are you?" one dwarf demanded. "This is our house." "Can I stay here?" she asked. "I can't go back home." The dwarfs whispered among themselves. "Okay," one finally said. "But only if you help wash the dishes. We hate doing the dishes." "It's a deal," said Snow White. Back at the castle, the queen felt a little better. She thought Snow White was gone for good, but a tiny fear still lingered in her heart. She stood before the mirror again. "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the most beautiful of all?" The mirror replied softly, "You are very beautiful, my queen, but Snow White is still the most beautiful in the world." "Snow White is alive?" the queen shrieked. "She's living in the forest with 7 dwarfs," said the mirror. "Last night, she wasn't very pretty, but as of 1 p.m. today, she is. More beautiful than you." "Rats!" shouted the queen. She rushed to her closet, threw on her old coat and boots. "If I want it done right," she muttered, "I'll have to do it myself." She disguised herself as an old fruit seller and packed a basket full of apples, one of them poisoned. Snow White was reading by the fire when she heard a knock at the door. Knock, knock. She peeked through the window. There stood a woman with kind eyes holding a basket of fruit. "Fruit! Fresh fruit! Apples and bananas and pears and oranges." Snow White's stomach growled. "I do love apples," she thought, "but the dwarfs told me not to open the door." "Oh, don't be silly," said the woman kindly. "I'll eat half and you can eat the other. See? Not poisoned at all." Tempted, Snow White opened the door. The woman bit her half. Snow White, unable to resist, bit into the other. Almost instantly, she collapsed to the floor. The queen gave a long sigh of relief. She hurried back to the castle. Later that day, the dwarfs came home and found Snow White lying motionless on the floor. They shouted her name. They tickled her toes. They splashed water on her face. But she didn't wake up. "Is she dead?" whispered one dwarf. "She doesn't seem alive," said another. With heavy hearts, they built her a glass coffin, clear and beautiful, and placed it in the quietest part of the forest, surrounded by wildflowers. Snow White lay there for many months, through spring, summer, autumn, and winter. One day, a prince from a distant kingdom was walking through the woods with his dog. He saw the strange glass coffin and brushed away the fallen leaves. Inside was Snow White. As he stepped closer, he tripped over his dog. The coffin toppled off the table, and Snow White rolled gently onto the grass. "Oh no!" the prince cried. "Oh dear! Oh fiddlesticks!" But then something incredible happened. A small piece of poisoned apple popped out of Snow White's throat. She began to cough. "Apples," she whispered. "I beg your pardon," said the prince. "No, more apples." Far away, the queen stood once more before her mirror. "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the most beautiful of all?" The mirror replied gently, "You are very beautiful, my queen, but once again, Snow White is the most beautiful in the world." "What?" screamed the queen. She grabbed a shoe and hurled it at the mirror. Smash! The mirror shattered into 1,000 glittering pieces, and with it, all the magic was released. "No!" the queen cried. She collapsed on the floor and fell into a deep, dark sleep. In her dream, she was dancing in red-hot iron shoes. Her feet burned and burned, but she couldn't stop. When she finally woke, the sun was shining, and she felt the spell of jealousy had lifted. She no longer felt afraid. She no longer felt ugly. She felt free. The queen went downstairs and saw her husband waiting with a Scrabble board. This time, she actually wanted to play. And Snow White? The dwarfs were overjoyed to see her alive. They welcomed her home with a warm meal. The prince joined them for dinner. When he learned that nobody liked washing the dishes, he surprised them with a gift, a dishwasher. And from that day on, no one in the little cottage ever had to argue about dishes again, and they all lived happily ever after. And so, our story drifts to a close. Snow White is safe. The dwarfs are happy. Even the queen, at last, finds peace. Thank you for sharing this quiet time with me. May your dreams be kind. May your heart stay light. And may the gentle magic of fairy tales always find its way to you. Good night, from the Moonlit Cabin.